Hello, everyone. I think I'm live. I am live. Okay. Hey, good evening. How are you guys doing? Trying to figure out how this thing is getting going, but it's going. So good to see you all. Hope you all are doing well. I have getting ready to go to Italy, which is super fun. We leave this Friday for a super fun day, or well, a couple days in Rome and in Venice, and then we end up at the International Chimney Sweep Festival in it's called Spazzacamini. It's in northern Italy, and it we go to it almost every year, and highly recommend you go if you ever can go. It's amazing, and I'll be sending some Facebook stuff back and celebrating that. I'm going to be going over there with about 12 people in my group going, some employees, some friends, families, and in just a pretty big group. So it should be a lot of fun. So I will keep you updated on that. Hope you guys are doing well. We lost Dolly Parton today, as probably many of you know. It's pretty sad. I kind of wanted to talk about. I had a run-in with Dolly, and I got to work for Dolly on some of her jobs. And recently, actually, she opened a hotel in Nashville, and we got to do some chocolates for her company. But back in the day, many years ago, I got a call to sweep. I didn't know it was Dolly. A lot of times, you're working with people, and their house manager will call you. So I get to this house. It's one of those years that I work by myself. I go to the house and I realize it's Dolly Parton's house. They're getting ready to shoot a TV show there. And why I was there was to sweep the chimney before this TV show kicked off, because they were worried that it hadn't been checked and could catch fire during this video shoot. So I'm coming there, and I get there, and there's another chimney sweep company there too. Well, back in the day, I didn't have a way to like um, tell people I had a way, but I didn't tell people I'm on my way. I didn't, send all the notices that were coming and all that. So she'd call me. They had called me 2 weeks or 3 weeks and prior. I'd set up the time, but no other communication. They weren't sure if I was going to show up, so they called another chimney company. We get there, and they're all set up for this TV shoot, and she's in there, and she's like, I'm so sorry we called both of you. And she said, don't worry, I'll pay everybody. Everybody will get paid. Don't worry about it. And so me and the other chimney sweep company got to work together. We worked together. We knew each other, but we hadn't really worked together. So we worked together on Dolly's fireplace for this show. It was her and Vince Gill, I believe. But it was back in the day where we had to take pictures. I think they had Polaroids, actually. It was that long ago. Took pictures of the fireplace exactly the way it was for the TV show. And we had to take everything down and, clean the chimney, make sure it was okay, and put everything back exactly to the Polaroid. And so we did that, and we worked together, and she was super sweet. And just the person you ever saw with Dolly was always the same person. We had some run-ins with in good ways and worked for her in different capacities. And it was always a joy, and she was always a pro, and she was always the same. And I can't say that. We work for a lot of famous people. We work, in Nashville, Tennessee. You're running into stars, every week. And they're not all like that. A lot of them are, but some of them have such I won't say the name of one of the famous guys that we work for, but like there's a non-disclosure that you can't look him in the eye when you're talking to him. You have to look away, like dumb stuff like that. Like you can't take any pictures, you can't address the star while they're there. And Dolly was she wasn't ever that. She was always just and I only ran into her a couple times, but just her normal stuff. She never took herself like she was a big star, and she will be greatly missed. I felt myself getting a little teared up during some of these news broadcasts, and I think it's amazing that Trump put flags at half staff for the week for her. That's class. So class act. She will be greatly missed. All right, so I wanted to also hope you guys are doing well. I have I don't know if my comments are working anymore on this thing. I know people see this, but it's not such a live commenting chat situation anymore. So I can see a few people have joined, but welcome. This week, there's been a lot of talk about scammers in our industry, and some of them will probably watch this, and you know who you are. And you're a scammer when you if you use these WhatsApp apps to send out leads that you get, and you send it to this group of unqualified people that are going to come kind of take care of the customer for $69 or whatever your fee is, and you get somebody there, and then you do a revenue split with the technician that gets there, and you just whatever he sells, you get half of what he sells. And I know a lot of those guys work that way. It's just a total scam. The guys are unqualified. They don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to make money and send it back. These guys are really good at marketing, but they're terrible technicians, and they're terrible at the actual work. So one thing, if you're watching this and you're not in the chimney industry, a couple of easy wins. One, when a company comes to the door, make sure they have a certification on them. Make sure they have a uniform that says the name of the company that you called. Look out and look at the van. Make sure the van is lettered with the name of the company that you called. Typically, these guys are run around in unmarked vans. We rolled up on one that was a Honda Odyssey, and he had some kind of name on his shirt. But they scam people because they will also tell you that they are, if you say, hey, I called Ashbusters, they'll say, yeah, we work with them. Yeah, when they're busy, they call us. Or they'll say, when they call you on the phone, they say, we're your chimney company. We're going to be in your area to sweep chimneys for $69. I'm like, oh, are you Ashbusters? And they'll go, yep, that's us. They'll say yes to whatever it is, or they'll kind of mold along with whatever the customer gives them. The answer is yes. So if you public service announcement, if you're not in chimneys, look for a uniformed tech. Like for us, you get a text beforehand, picture of the tech that's coming to the door. Secondly, we're fully uniformed. Our trucks are fully uniformed. We got chimney gear inside, that kind of a thing. Total pro. You can see if they're not a pro. So we roll up on this house. I think it's 2 days ago. My technician comes to this house, and he sees this black Honda Odyssey van in front, in the parking lot, in the driveway. Drives up, and he sees that there's like some dryer vent rods and like a shop vac in the back, but just kind of random. These guys really don't clean chimneys. They have really crappy gear. And secondly, there's no cameras. And thirdly, you always need a deep cleaning. They're never cleaning your chimney for $69. They're doing some extra work, and they're going to try to come out of there with about $1,200 plus. And so anyway, we get there, and he sees this like Middle Eastern guy running back and forth, can't barely speak English. And he says, are you here to sweep the chimney? And the guy's like, yeah. And he couldn't really speak much and didn't try to. And my guy is like, you're going to sweep the chimney with the equipment? And so he keeps moving, knocks on the door, and he says, hey, we're from Ashbusters. And the guy said, is this guy not with you? And he's like, no. He goes, I don't know who that is. And the homeowner said, well, we thought we called you guys. And my guy said, no, this isn't us. He goes, well, I don't know who this guy is. And so he said, let me ask my wife. She really set this up. The wife was in the shower. So the guy, and so he had done some work on top of the chimney, and because we were called for a chimney leak, and the guy had put, black tar and some kind of paint all over the top of the chase cover, and said he was fixing it. And my guy's like, you didn't fix anything with what you just did. And so the guy realizes that there's something wrong. And so then he said something funny. He said, this happened to me yesterday, which makes me understand that these guys doing the work are not the scammers. I mean, they are, but they're not the ones setting the job up. There's somebody setting the job up. These guys they get a lead on their phone, on their WhatsApp, and they go do the job, and they're kind of in it blind. and they try to just make as much money as they can. And then next thing you know, he gets the next job. Well, they're impersonating the scammers, the lead sources a lot of times are impersonating real chimney companies in the area. And so this guy had obviously ran into a different chimney company the day before and got in trouble. And for us, so my guy walked out back with the homeowners while this guy was in, and they were trying to figure out what to do with him. And he left. He just jumped in his car and left all of his gear in the living room. And they're like, "What is going on? What is this guy doing? What's happening?" And so he left. His stuff is sitting in the living room, and my guy goes ahead and proceeds to talk about, hey, make sure the people, they're like, make sure that people are uniformed and certified, and this trucks are lettered. And he's saying what he did was, they hadn't charged him anything yet, and what he did was not any kind of a repair. The customers understood. And right in the middle of that, door was shut. It was shut in the front of the house. They were in the back. He runs in the front door, grabs his stuff real fast, runs out the front door, jumps in the van, and leaves. So it was one of the most odd situations. And I'm sure a lot of people are running into these guys that are unqualified. So that was our scammer story. Somehow it feels like he got in front of us, like almost like they scammed off, from our website, or somehow they got information about our customers. And I heard another company, they had kind of gotten some of the customer information before the legit company came out there, and tried to like get there before them to get the job somehow. I think these guys are very advanced. They're not stupid. They are not, they're not dumb for sure, but they actually are just not honest, as we know. Kurt said, before you like that spark, better call Mark. So that's my little tagline in being, hey, Kurt, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. So anyway, they're out there. Be careful. If it sounds too good, like if they're offering, we're $300 to do a full chimney inspection sweep, it's somewhere in the $300 to $400 range to really send a certified guy out to really do a good job. And if you see a deal for $69 or $49 or under $100, you have to tell yourself, that a legit company can't deploy a technician to your house, pay the gas, pay the vehicle expense, pay the technician, pay all the insurances, have all the stuff for $69. Like, you have to just realize he has to sell you a bunch of other stuff for number one. For us, we try to make, a little bit of a profit on the service. And of course, most, service companies, what we really find is a lot of chimneys are broken and need repairs. And that's kind of where we can make up some of the money lost on service. But you can't go out for $69 and do any kind of service and have any kind of coverages. So just as a homeowner, just, buyer beware. So with that, I wanted to go on to a couple more things. This last week, we had our program called Built to Sell, which was, we brought in several companies. We had about 12 to 15 people there, and they are entering a program to get themselves ready and get their businesses ready to be evaluated. And they're not ready to sell yet, but they are ready to think about it and be prepared for it and do all the things necessary to have a good exit for themselves. So we brought them in, and we had some of the guys from Chimney Collective talk about, Branson was amazing and talked about all the things they're looking for, why chimneys are very exciting right now, why garage doors were exciting. And I think there's about to be another even bigger play on garage doors coming up. So with that, chimneys are kind of right behind garage doors in the private equity world of home services. And we had all kinds of mindset situations where a lot of the people hadn't really thought about what it takes mentally to gear your business up and grow it and be ready for an exit. One of the people that spoke was Ellen Rohr. And Ellen, if you've ever been around here, is absolutely a bundle of joy. She's on fire. She's been through many sales and exits and been through thousands of companies of all types that have gone down this road. And so she talked about a book called Finish Big. And I'm going to highly recommend that because she recommended it last week. I'm about halfway through it. And I wanted to talk about a book review on that I want to go ahead and I recommend reading the book or listen to the book, but a couple things. Let me just get to my notes. So one of the things it says is every entrepreneur exits eventually. The choice isn't whether you exit, it's whether you prepare um, and whether it's whether you prepare enough to influence how, when, and on what terms you exit. So every entrepreneur exits. Everybody listening, if you've got a business, you will be exiting. And so his point was don't plan the exit when somebody makes an offer. You want to plan the exit well before that, sometimes years before that. And I've been talking about exiting for many, many years. My main mentor, John Meredith, said, by the time you hit about 50, you need to be thinking about an exit. So you're healthy enough, you have all the stuff, and you get the best exit on your terms instead of just, some kind of fire sale. Now, private equity has entered our world recently, and all of a sudden everybody's getting ready a lot faster than they thought they had. But now that there are options on the table for you to exit, why not think that way anyway? Because it's inevitable. It's not if you're going to do it, it's just when. And so, in the book, one of the things is you kind of got to know what you want before you exit. Like, what do you want? Like some people exit their business and they're kind of depressed because the business is who they are, the business is what they are. And now all of a sudden you sell that business and you don't have anything to do. You better have something to do. And it can't be just, I'm going to go travel all the time. Traveling, believe it or not, will get boring. And it's a thing to do, but it's not the thing to do. Like unless you become a travel agent and that becomes your business, but you have to have something to do next, and you have to know what that looks like. They also say that you're not really an entrepreneur till you exit at some point. That's the full circle. We talk about startups, we talk about scaling and growth. We don't talk about exiting to finish the circle. And I never thought of it that way either. Because I just simply wasn't. I was concerned about it, but it wasn't really. I didn't really realize what it's like to finish that out. And so, you in that process, in order to have a good exit, you have had to build a business that doesn't need you. And that's easier said than done by far. But most of the time, that is how you're going to get your best exit is because you have a second in charge or a third and a management team that can take over when you want to be done. And the business, it's really the biggest flex if you can exit and the business actually grows after you more. That's the biggest flex you can do. You don't want to exit and the business shrinks or collapses. That's not good. You want your management team to thrive and build on. And so, that's one very important thing that you want to have set up so that you do all the things. So, if you care about your employees, if you care about your customers and your brand and everything you've done, you want to do everything you can. It's just a good steward of who you are. So when you close that door, your customers aren't trying to find scammers. Your employees aren't trying to find new employment or they don't like the new company that you've gone. Your best thing is to hand off and hand up, like, hey man, I've taken it this far. I've stuck my flag in the battlefield of life and I've planted my flag and this is what I did. Go forth from here and prosper. Go and I've set you up best I can. The worst thing you can do is have a fire sale, get sick, something bad happen to you. Kurt is a income protection specialist, so he knows what I'm talking about for sure. Like You weren't ready. You weren't ready at all. You didn't protect your company. You fire sailed it out. It falls apart. And that's what happened in my parents' businesses. I know this super well because I come from a family that did exactly this. No ready to go plan. My mom ended up getting very sick. All her employees, it wasn't a very big accounting firm, but had to shut the doors. Uh, People came and took stuff. She wasn't ready for it, and when she got sick, business was gone. And I have other family members that just did not build a real business. So when it came time to exit, a lot of people pay the price. So anyway, I learned from that. That's what I kind of wrote my first book about was how to build a real business that doesn't need you, but man, it really pays dividends when it's time to exit. So let me just look at some other notes I have for that. Maximum price doesn't necessarily mean the best exit. Deal structure, culture, employees, your continuing role, buyer expectations, what happens after can matter as much as the valuation. And you're right. It is clearly the money's got to be right, but there are a lot of other factors that can matter a lot too. Um, Got to note, take care of the people who helped to build it. Owners who were the happiest afterward generally felt at peace with what happened to their employees, partners, and other stakeholders. We can talk about this, at some point, but it was very important for me to make it good for my employees and give them a nice, a nice chunk when I got a chunk. And then also, as we build the company, they have extra incentives to help build the company, in a good way. And then, I kind of gave them ownership in the future of what we're doing too. So, I built a process for everybody to kind of play the game with me. And I always wanted to do that. I like the exit it's called the ESOP, employee stock ownership plan. It's where the employees end up owning the business. Well, I've talked about it a bunch, but sometimes that can go very south. So this was my next best thing, which was give you a piece of the pie and give you a piece of the future pie. And now it gets exciting to play the game along with me. So they have ownership in the bigger company, which is really fun, and it's really going well for us. So, and then on that, there was another thing: 4 tests of a great exit. Good reward. Everybody is fairly treated and appropriately compensated. You felt good about what you built and then what you accomplished, and then kind of like kind of what your new purpose is. A great exit isn't defined by the size of the check; it's whether you like your life, your legacy, and what happened to the company and its people after the check clears. Oh man, it's so important. I've bought businesses before, and the owner didn't care at all what happened. They said, "Yeah, take care of our employees," but they really don't care. They don't do anything to make sure the employee was taken care of. I bought I took over a line of business for a big company that had gotten divided up, and I took 8 of their employees, and I did everything to make sure the employees were happy, taken care of. I paid them really well. My sole thing was to make sure these 8 employees that came over from this other powder coating company were taken care of. You know who didn't care about the employees? Company I bought the equipment and the line of business from. They didn't ever gave me enough work to keep them busy. We had a contract to give me so much work over the next 3 years, and they never gave me a fifth of what they said they would. So I couldn't keep their employees on because their employees were just there to do the work that they were going to send me. It's a specialized powder coating line that was custom made for this one product. Well, I had to have their product to put on their line to keep their employees employed. They never gave me the work, and they didn't care about their employees nearly as much as I did. And also another thing I bought in powder coating, the guy sold it, didn't tell his employees at all, just sold the company and was around for a couple of weeks and walked out and didn't really care. So I've seen that happen a lot. So I think, how you care about your employees and how you stage this exit is super important for the future of the business. And that's kind of one of the bigger flexes. I And so anyway, that book is called Finish Big by a guy named Bo Burlingham. It's a little bit older book, but it still has a lot of really good information on that. And you should read it sooner than later, right? I read it and I've already, done the exit. Now, when I say I've done the exit, I'm still president for 2 years at least, and I can stay on for as long as I want. There's no forcing me out, but I'll be 61 by the time my earnout is done, and I want to have options. If I want to stay on, great. If I want to do other things, great. I love the chimney industry. It's not like we're going anywhere, but I have to set up ways to have options, not be forced into something, which I don't like. You probably don't like it either. So that's called Finish Big. I wanted to also say a little self promotion here. I want to show this sharing. Let's see, it says stop sharing. So this tab. So my book, a friend of mine I was meeting with, I'm going to start promoting this book a little bit, but my book is called Blue Collar Boss. And, I wrote it and then I put it out a couple months ago on Amazon. I just haven't had a chance to read the book. I need to go into a studio like I did my first book and read it and get an Audible going, because a lot of people like to listen to a book on Audible. Well, she said, you can use AI in Amazon um, just to read your book for you. Well, sure enough, I clicked one button and it says, in the thing, it says using Amazon Voice. So it says, I just clicked the button and I don't know, 5 minutes, my book was narrated. Now, it's not my voice and it's not perfect. I listen to it. It messes some words up a little bit, but it says this title uses virtual voice narration. But man, it's pretty good. And if you want to listen to it now, it's on Amazon. If you look up Blue Collar Boss, and I've gotten 6 5-star reviews, and I've really gotten a lot of nice comments on it. But now it's on sort of like my voice audio, and it's up there, and it's not too expensive, and I think it's well worth. And I talk about how the first book was about why to build a service business, because I believe they were going to be very valuable in the future, more valuable than they are now. And then my second book is Blue Collar Boss, which is how to lead a company once you've built it. Like, how do you make sure that you keep people and you grow it, like we talked about. So those are the two things, or those are the two books I want to recommend. I'm going to make it a little bit of a short night tonight. I want to thank you guys for all the comments. It's amazing that I get a lot of comments on after these shows of people that reach out to me, and hopefully something helps you and makes you maybe do your business a little bit differently, or you learn something. I think it's helpful to hear that other people go through a lot of crap too. And the entrepreneurial journey is just that. It's a journey. It's tough. On the same days that I might have a huge win, I have a giant loss, like on the same day. And so in the world of business, you just have to, you develop this like shield, this armor of what it is. It's that is the journey of building a chimney business. But the thing I want to leave you with is, I don't think there's ever been a better time in our industry to grow your business, especially in the home services business. If you have a chance to grow the business, it's up to you to do that. It's up to you to plan how that looks, and it's up to you to change whatever. Let me just say this: your business is already perfectly lined up and perfectly optimized for the results you're getting, right? If you're happy with the results you're getting, don't change anything. Okay. And that's what people maybe don't realize, is that the results you're getting are the systems you set up, or the things you have or haven't done that will create growth, or what if you want that. So, but let's just say it's not where you want. You're not where you want to be. This is where you have to look at your entire structure and smash it. You have to take the couple good things that you do well, and I'm sure they are. Every company I've ever run into has a couple things they do really, really well. And you have to obviously keep some of those, and you have to bring on new things, whether it's a new marketing plan, new people, you have to put people in charge of things that maybe you hadn't thought before. Most of the time as the owner, you kind of got to get out of the way a little bit. You've got to move to the side and let somebody else start to do things. And I say this a lot, but my number one leadership hack, when you have a lot of people that work for you, want people to work for you, is you don't answer questions. You don't answer when they ask questions, you don't answer them. And that sounds counterintuitive if you haven't heard me talk about it before, but that is how you one, because if you get phone calls and you answer every phone call, you get more phone calls. If you get emails and you answer every email, you get more emails. If you get texts and you answer every text, you get more texts. But next, if you answer every technical problem or problem in your company when a technician calls and they say, hey, Mark, how do I fix this problem? How do I get this liner in place? How do I do this or do that? And I answer them and I give them the answer. I have just uh, hammered myself. I have just now set up for sure I'm going to get another call. So the answer is you don't answer the question, you ask questions. When they say, how do I do this? You say, okay, how would you do it? What do you think here's my number one is, what do you think we should do? Well, I think we should do this, that. Why do you think ask a few questions. The best leaders ask the best questions, not give the best answers. Nobody ever says the best leaders give the best answers or the best leaders have all the answers. No, the best leaders empower other people to lead. And the only way you empower them is to get them think on their own and them to have the idea and them to step out in front. The only way you do that is to build that up in them. So pretty soon they don't need to call you. They know the answer. They know how to think about it, and then they'll teach others. Now you've got this magic business that runs on its own with the way you think, because they've learned you ask the same questions. How would you do it? Why do you think we should do that? Have you thought of any other ways to do it? Okay. And if they're off track, yes, sometimes I have to say, no, that's not going to work. I can tell you why. Here's how you have to fix it. But they won't call back with that problem. And they'll stop calling you because they know it's just a list of questions. And then what you'll notice in my company now is when you ask people about things, they all say the same thing. They all say how we do stuff. They all say it exactly the same way. Like I had a group working with me for 2 days in my blue collar university. Those last 2 days, including today. And it's so funny. I tell people how we do stuff, and then I'll bring one of my managers in or somebody to talk about it, and they'll say exactly what I said over exactly the same way. And it's surprising to people, but it's not an accident. It's not me also hammering stuff into people. It's in general me teaching other people how I think about things. And then they will try to do the same. If they trust you, believe you, value your opinion, they will also mimic you in how you respond to things. So, the shadow of the leader type thing. So how you act and react is how your team will act and react. And so in that, they ask a lot of questions too. My senior people have learned to ask questions. Not everybody. I hear my senior people answering stuff right off the bat when somebody calls and asks. They'll just answer the question. But that's my biggest hack I can tell you for tonight. Don't answer any questions. Ask questions. And then eventually get to the point and cheer them on when they come to the right solution. You're like, yep, that's exactly what I would do. Love that. Do that. Right? That's one easy way to lead people. Lastly, it was so fun. We last night went to a photo shoot for our chocolate company, and my daughter set it up. And you'll see some of our pictures come out on social media. And I kind of forgot how many people work with us in the chocolate shop. There's like 14 people there because a lot of people work part-time and kind of behind the scenes, and some are outside sales, some are actually chocolatiers. It's me and my daughter. And then, there's retail people and there's behind the scenes people, there's cleaners, there's, because you don't want to have your chocolate chefs cleaning the kitchen. You have to have special cleaners because these people are very highly trained. and you don't want them spending hours cleaning the floors when you can have other people that are better at cleaning floors. And so, but it was neat to see all the people there that we actually employ, and it kind of added some weight to us, to me, to realize how many people and families are dependent on us making good decisions and building a brand that they can believe in and have fun with and be proud of, and all those things. So that was a fun thing last night. Probably be out for 2 weeks, leaving for Italy, like I said. And if you're in the chimney business, I highly recommend figuring out how to get over to Italy. It's always Labor Day weekend, so it can be tough for people. One of the coolest things you will ever do in your life as a chimney sweep is to go to this festival. All right, guys, that's my time. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you all, and we'll talk to you soon. See you. Bye.